Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6, consists of Aisya, Perdana, Asmaja, Sophia Anggela, Muhammad Rafli, Rizka Annisa, and Renny Nur Ferlyanti. So we will explain about material qualitative research design. Qualitative research involves written or spoken language from person and actors. Qualitative methods describe and analyze individual or group occurrence, events, social dynamics, attitudes, beliefs, and perception. Well, I will explain about my material. Phenomenology and ethnography. Phenomenology. Phenomenology research is qualitative study that attentively observes and listens to people's explanation and understanding of their experience. Phenomenology study seeks to understand and explain a person's life experience, including interaction with other and the environment. Phenomena approach is included in pure qualitative research because its implementation is based on efforts to understand and describe the ensuing characteristic of the phenomena that occur in oneself. Ethnography. Ethnography is a branch of the social science and humanities. Ethnography is from the word ethnos, which means tribe, and graphene, which means writing or description. Ethnography is the science that describes the tribes. Ethnographic study examines how people in a society use language to communicate. It also examines how language shape and function society. The characteristic of ethnography research. 1. Cultural themes. Ethnographic research focuses on developing culture and implementing it by a particular ethnic group. 2. A culture sharing group can be carried out on two or more people with the same attitude, language, and behavior. 3. Based on fieldwork. Data in ethnographic research is taken utilizing ethnographers going directly to the field. 4. Description in ethnography. 5. Context. The context in ethnographic research is the overall setting of the place, situation, or environment surrounding the cultural group under study. 6. Researcher reflexivity means that a conscious and open attitude towards the researcher's role will create a feeling of reliance shared between the person doing the study and the thing being researched. Types of ethnographic research. 1. Realist ethnography shows objective conditions in a culture group report from a third-person point of view. 2. Critical ethnography. This critical ethnographic approach is research that tries to respond to ongoing social issues such as gender, emancipation, power, status quo, inequality of rights, and equity. Okay, I think that's all for my explanation. Thank you.
Alright, I will continue the material. Next, this is about case study. This research is a method used to find or investigate problems in depth about an individual, group, institution, social movement, or event related to the phenomenon, context, and time. It means that the problem or phenomenon that occurs is limited in time and may not be the same in the future. Therefore, this case study research is closely related to the present situation. Case studies are conducted on a unified system, such as program, an event of group of people in given situation. A study has the characteristics to be said to be good research. The characteristic of good case study research have the following characteristic. Viewing the objective of research as a case or a problem, viewing cases as a contemporary phenomena done based on the facts or existing facts, using various data sources for research, and then using the appropriate theory as a guide or research reference. Next, this is about grounded theory. Grounded theory research examines core principles and guidelines to find or enhance a theory. Basic conclusions provide a theory's foundation. This grounded theory technique uses observation and field studies to collect data and compare categories, phenomena, and situations using inductive, deductive, and verification investigations until the data was saturated. And the last is historical method. Historical method study use historical facts and witnesses to recreate the past. This data can be found in historical documents, artifacts, verbal accounts, and credible lived witnesses. Because it examines events that have passed, the hallmark of historical research is the time when phenomena are seen as development or change based on time shifts. Qualitative research starts with specific social settings, not the population, and qualitative study results are applicable to similar social settings, not the population. Qualitative research use resource, participant, or informant instead of respondent. I think that's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Rafli with student number 20, 20, 50, and 22. In this occasion, I would like to tell you about interview and observation in qualitative data collection. Well, interview collect research data. A dialogue that takes place between an investigator and a respondent is known as an interview. With or without an interview guide, the interviewer and respondent exchange questions and replies to gather research data. These interviews are generally done singly or in groups to get useful information. Interviews can be technically implemented systematically or not. The researcher created the interview guide tool before conducting the interviews. Unsystematic, the researchers interview without a guide. Information technology now allows face-to-face interviews via telecommunication. Interviews provide in-depth information a study topic. It also involves verifying information collected through other methods. Recorded interviews are valuable because they give real proof if a misconception occurs. Then, the data is summarized and rewritten. The researcher interprets the interview data. Interview questions should be simple, open-ended, and brief. The researcher must know participant-friendly phrases. The interview should last 19 minutes. The researchers can reschedule the next interview. One interviewer and one informant conduct in-depth interviews. Well, in qualitative research, various interview models are as follow. 1. Depth interview. The interview is impromptu. The interviewer and interview have a familiar connection, thus the discourse is casual. In-depth interviews are used to contextualize contemporary construct in terms of people, event, action, sentiments, motives, responses or perception, degrees and types of engagement. 2. Interview with general instruction. This type of interview requires the interviewer to develop a framework of or outline of the subject in the form of interview instruction. General guidelines keep the planned topics covered entirely, and the discussion doesn't get out of the topic and the planned outline. Well, now we have the third is open standard interview. An open interview is an interview using a set of standard questions, namely question with exact wording, sequence, and presentation method for all interviewed informants. This type of interview needs to be used if the variety of questions will make it difficult for researchers because the number of information is quite large. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next is structured interview. In a structured interview, the interviewer set his problems and questions to us. This type of interview aims to find answers to the hypothesis. Structured interviews are generally used if the entire research sample is considered to have the same opportunity to answer the question posed. The advantage of this structured interview is that there is no deepening of questions that allow the interviews to lie. The fifth is unstructured interview. Unstructured interview stress exception, deviation, unexpected interpretation, reinterpretation, price ways, expert viewpoints, or solitary perspective. The differences between this and a structured interview is the time to ask a question and provide a more unrestricted response. In an In an unstructured interview, the questions are not prepared in advance because they are adapted to circumstance and unique characteristics of the resources, person, or informant. And the sixth or last semi-structured interview. It means an open-ended interview is underway. The resource person replies from further inquiries, which intensive information meaning during the session. The next is observation. Observation is systematic and purposeful exploration of occurrences, especially with the eyes that may be examined afterwards. The observation is a main goal is description. The quality of research is determined by how far and deep the researchers understand the situation and context and describe it as naturally as possible. In addition, observation do not have to be carried out by the researchers themselves, so researchers can ask for help from others to carry out observation. There are several forms of observation, namely one, participatory observation, two, researchers use unstructured observation to adapt to file change, and the last, a group of researchers, observers, or study topic. I think that's all of my explanation. Thank you for listen. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Rizka Annisa with student number 2020-2050-24. Here I would like to explain the material about documentation and focus group discussion. Okay, let's start from documentation. Documentation derives from the word document or written product. The term documentation technique refers to processes for gathering data or for documenting data that already exists. The data gathering approach that is utilized to track down past information is called the documentation method. Documents pertaining to an individual or a group of individuals, events, or events that took place in social contexts that are connected to the study topic. Okay, let's move on to focus group discussion. The FGD techniques involve investigating a specific phenomena via the conversation of a group of people. The approach places an emphasis on the cooperative endeavors of the people who are involved in the phenomenon in order to arrive at a consensus. Participants in a discussion will engage in activities such as talking to one another, interacting with one another by asking questions and making comments to one another about their personal experiences or ideas about a societal problem or topic that will be identified or resolved in the discussion group. The basic goal of the focus group discussion or FGD approach is to acquire data interaction resulting from the conversation of a group of participants or respondents in order to increase the depth of information and expose various facets of a life occurrence in order to describe and explain this phenomenon. The data that resulted from the interaction that took place during the group discussion may be used to focus on or stress the similarities and contrasts in experiences. And they can also give factual information and statistics regarding a perspective that was formed as a direct result of the outcomes of the group discussion. The focus group discussion or FGD technique is one of the ways that may be used to gather data for research. The end result of using this approach yields data that is derived from the interaction of several participants in study. As is the case with most other methods of data collection, characteristics of issues that can be obtained through the FGD methods are issues to gain an understanding of the behavior and attitudes of a group of individuals or to find out perceptions, insight, and explanations about social issues that are not personal, general, and non-threatening. Thus, not all problems or issues can be collected through the FGD method.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Renny Nur Ferlyanti with ID student number 2020-27. In this video, I will explain to you about the qualitative data analysis. One of the methods of conducting data analysis that can be used to look for recurring themes or patterns in study is called thematic analysis. So here, three stages of doing thematic analysis. First, understanding that data. Second, composing code. And third, searching for themes. First, understanding data. So here, the researchers needs to understand and integrate with the qualitative data obtained. And addition, read and rereading interview transcript as well as listening to interview recordings or seeing film generated during the process of the data collection is the most efficient approach to become more integrated with the data. So here, the key goal of the initial stage is for the researcher to have impression that he is beginning to grasp the content of the data that he has received and to start finding items in the data that are linked to the research question that he posed. And so, to achieve this, it is a very natural for the researcher to want to read the interview transcript at least once, twice, or 3 times until the researchers understand and is close to the data. Plus, being combined with the notes made during the observation will be vital to tracing to the depth of the data he reads. And second, composing code. This coding can be compared to the process that a librarian does to identify the topic of a book's title. Alternately, consider the situation when the reader is searching for the focus of a paragraph. Codes are type of a label or feature that are include the data are the relevant to the research topic. In this scenario, the researcher is the one who decides which bits information from the interview transcript require coding. And the code needs to be expressed the clearest way possible so that when it is analyzed in the future, and the researchers can have a better understanding of the significance of the statement made by each participant. And next, data trustworthiness. The process of determining whether or not qualitative research is accurate or reliable is referred to as verifying the validity of the data. So, the concept of the data trustworthiness covers the requirements for the degree to which the data are credible, transferable, dependent, and confirmable. In addition to the 4 criteria, the qualitative methodology includes 8 data checking approach, such as participation extensions, observation persistence, trilingualizations, peer checking, sufficiency of reference, negative case studies, member checking, and last, extensive description. And I think that's all for my explanation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.